How's it going, people of the internet? We're at Alpha Auto Works and this is Test Garage. Today we have a F10 M5 that we're going to be replacing the axle on. As you can see, this axle is totally busted in the right rear. The car doesn't even move. So I'm gonna show you how to replace that. First thing you want to do when you're gonna be replacing the axle on the M5 is you're gonna need a scan tool of some sort. You don't need a snap-on scanner, but you need something that can deactivate the rear calipers or retract the motor for the parking brake, so you don't damage anything. The rear caliper on the right side is going to have to be removed while replacing the axle. Okay, so the next step is going to be to remove the right rear wheel, or whatever wheel you're working on. The next step is to remove the brake caliper and support it somehow. What I'm going to use is I'm going to hang it right here on this hook, but you can use a coat hanger, zip ties, mechanics wire. In order to do that, or before you do that, you need to disconnect this right here, which is the wire for the parking brake module. Also disconnect this wire, or just pull it out of its holders. This is for the wheel, or this is for the brake pad sensor. So take all those out of their holders, and then you should be able to just hang the caliper up here. The two caliper bolts that hold this part on are 13 millimeter. So take those bolts loose. Looks like there might be a little bit of Loctite on the bolt, so give me a second. When I tried to take the bolt out, the slide pin was just spinning, so I'm going to use some locking pliers to hold the slide pin so I can rotate the bolt out. If you see our top 5 tools, you'll see locking pliers on our top 5 tools. And this is one of the reasons why we think they are important. That blue color you see is Loctite, which is why the pin was spinning. Also, before removing the caliper, you also have to pull the brake pad wear sensor out of the brake pad, which is right here. These break very easily, so the way I do it is I spray just a little bit of penetrating oil inside of it. And then I blow out all the debris. There's a lot of brake dust and road grime in there, and that's usually what causes the sensor to be stuck. So now just grab a hold of the sensor, and with an up and down motion just sort of rock it out of the brake pad, and it will come right out. Now with the brake pad sensor out, you can remove the caliper and hang it up. The caliper bracket bolts are 18 millimeters, so break those loose. The next thing you want to do is remove the rotor. You have two two assembly bolts right here. Take those two bolts out. They are 6mm hex. And it's a good idea to put a couple lug bolts in, just so you don't drop the rotor if you're going to be reusing the rotor. Even if you're going to be replacing it, you don't want to drop the rotor on your air hose or your toes or something like that. And I used a rubber mallet on this rotor. I did not use a metal hammer. The metal hammer will damage the rotor. It's not a big deal if you're going to be replacing it, but since we're reusing this rotor, we don't want to hit it with anything that will damage it. The next thing I did was disconnect the wheel speed sensor wire from its holders right here, and then right back here there is a torque screw. It looks like maybe a T30. Remove that T30 and pull the wheel speed sensor out. The next thing you want to do is disconnect the sway bar end link. That's a 18mm. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure what this part is right here, but there's another 18mm bolt right here. You want to take this bolt out. And we're just going to loosen this 20mm nut, or 21mm nut. We're not going to take this all the way off. We're just going to take a little bit of tension off of this bushing. Next thing you want to do is take this axle bolt out, and the way you do that is screw a couple lug bolts into the hub. A little awkward working the head. What you want to do is you want to use a big pry bar and hold the hub with the lug bolts. And you also want to take a 17mm Allen on a big 1/2-inch ratchet. And that will allow you to take it out. Both of these tools that I'm using, except for the 17mm Allen, both of these tools were in our top 5 tools video. And you can run it out with an impact. So the next thing you want to do is you want to pull this brace off and this brace off. That way you can remove this reinforcement plate off. This bolt is a 16, this bolt is a 16, and these two bolts are 13s. Same thing, 13s, 16, 16, and all of these bolts are also 16s. You also have an 8mm bolt right here holding this trim piece to the reinforcement bar. The next bolt we're going to be removing is this 18mm that holds the strut to the knuckle. So before you pull that bolt out, you just kind of want to support the lower control arm, or support all this weight right here. As soon as you pull that bolt out, everything is going to want to drop down a little bit, so we just want to avoid any damage really. any violent movement. So the next bolt we're going to take out, or the next nut, is the nut for the toe adjustment arm, which is, you can see the arm right through the backing plate right there. Okay, when I tried to remove this nut, the joint inside the arm was just spinning. So what I have to do is I gotta hold the stud in the joint. There's a hole for a torque socket right there. You wanna turn that and hold that 21mm nut. You're gonna need a T40 socket to get this nut off. So in order to fold the knuckle down, this stud has to come out of the knuckle, and there's not enough flex in this bushing right here. So what I'm going to do is take this 21mm nut and bolt out of here and remove this arm completely. That way I can fold the knuckle down. Now we should be able to fold the knuckle down. Let's see. Now that you have the knuckle folded down and you have the axle released from the differential, you can go ahead and pull your CV axle out. This one is coming out in 2 pieces, but yours should just come out in 1 piece. When you're pulling this out, you want to be careful of the output seal of the differential. You don't want to drag this part across the seal. You want to pull it out as straight as you can. So the next thing we're going to do is clean up all this grease, and to install the replacement axle, you just drive it in, make sure the splines are lined up, drive it in, and then put everything back together. Fold the knuckle up, put all the arms and end links back on, put the connectors back on. Installation is the reverse of removal, and that's how you replace an axle on an F10 M5. Alright, people of the internet, thank you for watching Test Garage. Thank you for watching this F10 M5 axle replacement. Please hit thumbs up, like, subscribe, and please refer to our top 5 tools video that we mentioned a couple times during this process. Thank you.